normally 3 reasons why someone wouldn't be paying attention to your social media content.
Mhm.
And one of them, the first one is you're not making content that's actually relevant to your ideal client. So social media is
Mhm.
super crowded, right? Like it's super crowded, and there's a million people on there. It doesn't mean
Mm.
you shouldn't be on there. You should, but most of the time people are not actually being relevant enough to get people to stop scrolling and check out their content. Which I find to be, it's just something you got to work at. Anytime you're creating content, you're newer in business, you're newer in coaching,
Mhm.
it's okay for you to need to work on this muscle. It's just like if you're going to the gym and you're doing squats, you're not going to have a big, perfect, booty the next day.
Hello, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Jess Jacobsen. She is a very, very awesome person, and I have met her through a coaching program that we're in. And Jess is known to help entrepreneurs and personal brands create social strategy that converts and scales without you needing to sacrifice your community. And I think it's just brilliant. She also has a brand new podcast. I think it's a few weeks old, a few months old, called Social Strategy Social Strategy Slayer, which I think is just perfect. It's just awesome. And I listened to a few of the episodes, so I strongly recommend you guys get onto that as well. Hi, Jess. How you doing?
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come onto the podcast. It's been a minute. We've been trying to do this for a few months, I think. It's
We
just,
really have. We really have.
but it's save the best for last type thing. It's because it's going to be awesome. Can
Yeah, I forgot
can
about my microphone. Sorry. Here
I
we
can
are.
I can hear you, so that means your
Oh,
computer
great.
is not too bad, actually.
Great.
Okay,
Amazing.
now I can hear you too. Can you tell people about you? Where you're from? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I'm from Chicago, where I am now residing. Grew up here, born and raised in Chicago. Um, love the city. I'm a big city girl. I lived in California for 3 years and loved that too.
Mhm.
But I came back for family, and also I do love a city. I really love a city. Like I love New York. I love a big city vibe. I love London, Paris. I'm super energized by cities. So I was missing that. LA is a city, but it's very spread out. It feels like a bunch of suburbs. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So I love it here. I do social media, as you said.
Mhm.
I started my business a little over 3 years ago now, and I've been doing social media for 8 years. So since I started, pretty much since I started college, I was doing social media to try to build my portfolio.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a career back then. It was like new. Like when I was in college is when Instagram came out, the first year when I was a freshman.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was on there like having fun, helping my friends grow their followers, going around to local businesses, building my portfolio and trying to help companies like local businesses, basically
Mhm.
local small businesses, grow their social media to build my portfolio. And I was doing it all for free because I was just trying to grow my book because I was trying to become a advertising creative in like big ad agencies. And then I got to the big ad agencies and it was terrible. I hated it. And I had a huge identity crisis because I just spent 4 years, studying advertising. And I was like, I love social media. I love brand strategy, but working for the man sucks. I
Mhm.
just hated some of the brands I had to work on. Um, I hated like, you're in your marketing meeting and you're working on I can't say names, but you're working on certain brands who they're unhealthy food and you hear them saying that they want to target moms in low income neighborhoods and all this stuff and you're just like this is the
Wow.
worst. Like this sucks. I hated it. So I had an identity crisis for my first like 2.5 years in corporate, finally quit, started my company, and I've been working with coaches and entrepreneurs in like the more personal brand space
Mhm.
ever since.
That is so awesome. And it's so true what you say about marketing and working with people that you don't want to work. And that's a beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur, because you can actually pick your clients. That makes a big difference.
I was like, wait a minute, this is an option. Like I can just not be in corporate. I can just go out and do my own thing and pick people I really love. And I did get distracted even in my own business for a while, which you
Yeah.
know a little bit about that. But yeah, I accidentally started an agency. I left the agency world to start offering my services as a consultant,
Mhm.
and I wanted to make courses and things like that. Um, Programs, one-on-one strategy, VIP days. And I did a lot of that, but I mainly ended up growing an agency because I was in a community with a lot of high rollers in
Okay.
the brand online, space,
Mhm.
and they all want you to do it for them. They don't want a consultant. They want you to do it for them, certain people.
Mhm.
So I got kind of stuck in that, and I thought those were big opportunities, and they presented themselves to me as if it was going to be this big opportunity. It was going to help me get exposure. I hated doing it. Like the whole time I was doing it, I was like fumbling through it because I'm great at what I do, but I didn't want to do it. I have had a couple clients that have stuck. Like I have one client left on that side of my business that I haven't let go of or like mutually parted ways
Mhm.
at the end of a contract because he is a great referral partner and he's really a total gem. He was my day one first big client and he's just easy to work with. But besides him, I've let that entire side of my business go, which
Wow.
is really scary.
Yeah.
Um, but that's not what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's so important to work with people that you really want to work with. And I actually teach this now. I've got a whole series of things coming out on it because it actually dragged you down. Did you feel emotionally exhausted working with those people that you don't want to work with?
totally, it was the
Mm.
worst. Especially there was a couple people that I knew I was going to have a hard time with just based on my personality type and their personality types.
Mhm.
And I said yes. And it was terrible for me. It was a terrible experience. I was so drained. I mean, like I remember, I don't know, another thing I do is I combine a lot of spiritual modalities with social modalities. So like I combine the spiritual with the practical, as I think many business owners do. But I remember I had this big client like come to me that I had been wanting for years, like almost landed this client, fell through, landed the client this past year when I knew I did not want to do this at all. And I pulled a tarot card and was like, oh, give me some guidance on this move. Pulled a tarot card, and it was the tarot card that was like, this is a shiny object. Whatever you're doing right now, whatever you're about to do is going to take you away from your path. Be really careful. And I was like, I'm still going to do it. Like, you know what I mean? And I still did it. And then, because it was a really good paycheck and I was freaking out about money. So I took it on. It was such a drain. And it's not the client's fault that it's a drain. I knew that I didn't want to do it. I'm not talking crap about anybody. These clients are
Yeah.
great people. They're awesome. I just knew I didn't want to do it anymore. I did an amazing job at the end of the engagement. The client wanted extended with me for a couple extra months and wanted to keep extending. Was like, I'm going to miss you so much. I was like, I know, but I just needed to do the thing I really wanted to do because the
Yeah.
longer that you keep that going,
Mm.
the more energetically drained you are, like you were saying. And it just takes you further and further away from your vision. Yes, am I glad I did all those things because I have a great like repertoire of past clients with big names
Mhm.
and I've been able to like stand on my own 2 feet as I've created this versus like I worked at an agency and I worked on Basil Hayden and Knob Creek and all these big Jim Beam bourbon brands.
Mhm.
And I have that in my portfolio, which is awesome, which I never use my portfolio anymore. That's ridiculous. But um that I was like, oh, but that was for some reason I made that like mean that only happened for me because I was at the agency, which that still was my work that was published all over the place.
Mhm.
But I was like, oh, that was agency work versus what I create on my own is what I create on my own, which was great. But then again, it's like your worthiness is caught up in somebody else's identity
Oh,
versus
so
just
true.
what's your own identity and how
Yeah.
come that's not enough for you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm, that is so true. And a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that to find their identity. And then they just do whatever comes along. And that's also where this shiny object syndrome comes in, because you just grab anything that comes your way because you struggle with finding your own identity. How did your current business model come around? So you've obviously now been through this journey, you hated what you did. So how did you make that shift? Because that was a very big shift to make. How did you do that?
Great question. Yeah. I mean, I started building the bridge for this over a year ago. So I had
Wow.
my first program last January.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
so I started doing so during 2020, during the pandemic, I was already going. Like I had created a couple courses and released them and had amazing launches. I had an in-person workshop pre-pandemic last January. Um, Sold into a program. I just started to leverage the audience that I had because
Mhm.
also a good social media agency is expensive.
Yes.
So, and it's an investment. It's a good investment to make.
Mm,
So my agency services were a great investment. And my clients had clients. So most of my clients had masterminds, right? And so a huge piece of my people who joined my programs were clients of my clients.
okay.
I had multiple agency clients who, and I still have great relationships with all of them, who they were my agency client and their clients in their masterminds weren't ready to hire an agency, but they needed to know about social media. So they've put them like in an affiliate partnership through my programs, basically, because that person doesn't want to teach social media either. They don't
Mm,
know about it. I'm doing it for them,
mm,
right? So they know certain things that I clue them in on that they need to know.
mhm,
Um, but their audience, and for them, it's a bonus because the best partnerships you can make are when you have people who complement you.
mm,
So if someone's teaching online business building, they don't want to teach social media. They want to find someone like me that they can throw their
so
people
true.
to have them, learn
Mm,
this in a genuine way because it's going to help them get better results if
mm,
they're learning this from someone who's reliable. So that's kind of like how I built was through affiliate partnerships and then of course through my own social media because that's what I do. I'm really good at, and my specialty is helping people come up with authentic connections and actually building real relationships instead of building relationships that are phony, just trying to get a bunch of followers. I don't care about any of that. Like, I just went on a whole Instagram story rant today before this interview because I just wish that people would put half the time that they spend, and I'm sure you feel this way too, worrying about their followers and their engagement and their likes and why is this not working into actually just doubling down and going back and looking at what did work and how can I create better content? Who's my ideal client? How can I serve them more? And coming from a positive place of creation versus complain.
mm. Yes, I completely get that. I am not a big fan of social media in general. I know it sounds terrible, but I've never been my whole life. I've just always struggled with the whole Facebook thing and this and that. And I joined a program about probably 3.5 years ago now. And it was one of my very first coaching programs. And they said, use Facebook to grow your following and this and that. And I had at that stage, I think like less than 200 people on my Facebook. It was literally just people that I knew from school and some family, and that was it. And I had to, because that was the way the world was going. So I did that. And I'm sitting at the whole almost 5,000 Facebook friends. And I'm thinking, crikey, how did I get that right? I don't even know how to work it. And I'm on Instagram, but I suck at it. So if people like me, and I know a lot of people like me because I have clients that is like me, and I'm very happy to send them your way, Jess, so you can teach them if you have spots. But what is the very first thing? If, say, for example, you're just starting on Instagram, or maybe you're on there for a year, but nothing is working for you. What is the very first thing that you can do to get that authentic, real people following you, and not some stupid person telling you, oh, pay me and I'll help you? Because I know for a fact that does not work.
Oh, totally. And never buy into the bot. If you're on
Yes.
an Instagram bot, just get off
Never.
of it. It's
Yeah.
different than a messenger bot or an automation. People don't realize, like, because especially in the funnel world, which you're such an expert at, which I'm like totally, it's like totally counterintuitive to me. So we can definitely help each other. Um, for me, social media is about being social, but I know that most people don't view it that way. And there's a lot of negativity on social media. There's a lot of comparison, there's a lot of overwhelm. So the first thing you want to do if you're thinking you suck at social media, or you're feeling like you hate Instagram, or you hate a particular platform, like, is to just truly rewire your mindset around it. Like, get clear with yourself. Do you actually want to be on this platform? Is there going to be a good benefit for you being on the platform? And how can you take control over your issues with
Mm-hmm.
the platform? What good can come out of this platform if you actually want to? See, I love Instagram. I am not a Facebook fan, but guess what? I do Facebook. I'm all over Facebook, but
Mm,
it's not my favorite.
mm,
I also have grown to love LinkedIn a lot.
mm,
I love YouTube as a user, but YouTube is super SEO like. It's not like the same strategy as Instagram and Facebook.
mm-hmm.
YouTube and Pinterest are totally different strategies,
Mm.
because it's about ranking over time versus creating really compelling content in the moment.
Very true.
Um, so for me, the first place I would start is if you're feeling like I am doing everything on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, or even TikTok, and nothing is working, is go back to your ideal client. And you probably aren't landing with them. You're probably not landing with them, right? So, and people think they are. People always think they are. They come to me, I don't need to do this part. I already know it. I'm a queen at ideal client. I already got it. Like, you can never do too many ideal client interviews. You can never revisit that enough. You can never, like, I have two set up this week. You know what I'm saying? I have
Mm,
two set up this week with my own process that I use, but it's like I'm constantly having ideal client interviews. I'm constantly asking my favorite clients to get on the phone with me, or people who I see who I like them.
mhm,
I like their vibe, to get on Zoom with me for 30 minutes, and I record it and I do an ideal client interview. So the first thing is, there's normally three reasons why someone wouldn't be paying attention to your social media content.
mhm,
And one of them, the first one is you're not making content that's actually relevant to your ideal client. So
okay.
social media is
Mhm,
super crowded, right? Like, it's super crowded, and there's a million people on there. It doesn't mean
mm,
you shouldn't be on there. You should, but most of the time people are not actually being relevant enough to get people to stop scrolling and check out their content. Which I find to be, it's just something you got to work at. Anytime you're creating content, you're newer in business, you're newer in coaching,
mhm,
it's okay for you to need to work on this muscle. It's just like if you're going to the gym and you're doing squats, you're not going to have a big, perfect, booty the next day. Like, it's going to take you 6 months. This is the same thing. Like, get okay with the fact that content creation, especially on organic social media, is going to be a process for you. It's going to take time. And especially if you want the long game on social media, if you want to build a really great coaching business or personal brand of some sort,
mhm,
then it's super worth it to invest that time, because you're going to evolve your message as you go. You're going to learn what does and doesn't work.
mhm,
The second thing, I find that people create way too much conforming content, meaning they see that Gary Vee or Russell Brunson or somebody else is creating a particular style of content, and they just copy it.
I've
Like, they
seen
just
that as
copy it.
well. There's no the authenticity is not there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I've
And
seen that.
inspiration is fine. There's trends. There's trends.
Mm,
It's one thing to understand a trend. It's another thing to completely lose your voice and just try to copy other people or dance and point on TikTok. If that's not real for you, you don't have to do it. There's other ways you can, create great TikTok content. There's other ways you can create great Instagram content.
Mm.
I think as entrepreneurs, we don't give ourselves the space to be creative in our daily lives, like paint or dance
Mm.
or I don't know, do something, draw, write. We're all creative as entrepreneurs. We are. We have some sort of creativity. Even like people who are engineers, they are so freaking creative and they don't always see themselves as that,
Mm.
but they are. So it's finding the things that you are actually going to be liking to do and putting that back into your life, because when you have the space to create, you will also, that'll spill into your social media content, that'll spill into your content. Give yourself permission to be you. Don't feel like you need to look at everybody else, because the person who's copying everybody else also, a lot of times they have a lot
Yeah.
of they don't feel confident in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're not feeling like they are capable
Mm-hmm.
of creating their own content with their own voice and innovating in a new way for themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So I find like that's why I love combining the spiritual with the social. That's why I love posting new and full moon social media prompts on my page, because I find that we oftentimes just need to reconnect with ourselves
Mm-hmm.
to be able to create the type of content that we want. And honestly, the third thing that I always tell people in this thing is
Yeah.
that they might not be posting enough. Like that's a
Mm.
huge thing. You could be hitting all these other boxes, but are you posting enough? Are you doing reels? Like if you're on Instagram, for example, bells and whistles. Anytime YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, any of these platforms come out with a new feature, use it even if you don't know how. Just make a fool of yourself. People will respect you for it. They're going to look to you as a leader. And whenever you use something, when it comes out, that's how you grow. Like right now on Instagram, if you use Reels, you will see growth, which is rare. Instagram doesn't roll things out very often.
Yeah.
I would say if you can post 3 Reels a week, that would be ideal on top of your other content. That's what I'm aiming for. It's a lot, I get it. But if you batch your content
Mm-hmm.
out, if you spend a day once a week making content and
Mm.
you just plan it in advance, or you give yourself time to plan it, or you lean on your team, or you have a social media strategist to help you come up with ideas,
Mm.
then you'll be good to go. But sometimes I see people, they come to me, I'm doing everything, my content's so good, and I look at their content and it's not super clear,
Mm-hmm.
it's not very consistent. They're not hashtagging, they're not using Instagram stories every single day. Like if you're gonna pick a platform for the next year,
Yeah.
just go all in on it. You don't need to be everywhere at once, even though there's massive benefit in that, and that's the Gary Vee way. And I have mad love for Gary Vee. But for many coaches, I find that they're doing so many things in their business,
Mm.
and social media is like not something they're prioritizing at all. So
Mm-hmm.
if you just say, you know what, I'm going to go all in on Instagram this year, I'm going to go all in on TikTok or Clubhouse or YouTube. That's
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go all in on that. That's what I'm going to create for. You
Mm-hmm.
can hire people around you to repurpose that to the other platforms, not
Mm-hmm.
Clubhouse, unfortunately, but the other types of platforms that you can actually take that content. You can have your VA or someone on your team distribute that other places if you want to, but you should be focused on creating content for one specific thing,
Yeah.
and then everything else can come back around that.
Yeah. And it's so true what you say. And I am super guilty inconsistency because I don't give it as much attention. But I jumped onto the Instagram bandwagon this last probably 7 months or so. And I can see, and even if I just post one post, I have like 60 followers. It's like, oh, and I do it once a week. So I can see the power of doing something, that really attracts people towards you. It really makes a big difference. So
Totally.
your struggles in your business. Okay, so before I dive into that, the show is also about finding out what makes people successful. And part of success is really the struggles that you face and, the behind the scene things that people don't really see. And I don't know if it's a trend, but I've seen quite a few people that I follow that they have tears rolling down their face when they do videos and things because the struggle is apparently real, which we all know we face it, right? What has been your biggest struggle that you faced in your business the last, I would say, year?
My biggest struggle, I love this question. I like transparency. So
Mhm,
this is why I love you. So my biggest struggle in my business over the last year is exactly what I was talking about earlier, where I've been so ready to plunge into what I've now plunged into
mhm,
fully, but I've had one foot over in the agency side of my business because there was something in me, a belief system
mhm,
that was tied to I I can't make it over here. I have my worth is done for you. My worth is, you know, doing things for. Nobody wants to pay you for their knowledge. They just want it off their plate. This is a limiting belief I had.
mhm.
And I, over and over again this last year, generated like huge, like a pattern of, and this is why I love coaching, because my one-on-one coach was like, this is your pattern. Like you get to break this pattern. Like you attract in these ridiculous, like ridiculous social media opportunities for the agency, just like top of the line people,
Mhm.
big name people, great people who are awesome, but it's not what you want.
Mm.
At a certain point, you have to acknowledge that the universe is trying to tell you that you are ready. And for me, like what was happening was one agency thing, I'd either get screwed over or it'd fall through this whole last year, which my business has not always been like this. But last year during when COVID hit, I had so much go wrong in terms of clients falling through, clients cutting their contracts in more than half the amount
Wow.
that we were contracted for,
Wow.
like crazy stuff. And I was so like, oh my gosh, the only way for me to make money is over here, like this way. So
Yes.
I'd manifested another opportunity. Another opportunity would come my way. I would take it. It would fall through. They'd be
Wow.
2 months late on their payment. Crazy, crazy stuff that I've never experienced. And then at a certain point, it's like I had to, at the end of this year, on New Year's Eve, like on New Year's Eve, I had a client who was supposed to sign a contract who gave me her word that she was going to take one of my spots for this coming year for 2021. I had, and you know this because we're in the same mastermind. I
Yeah.
had told myself, I'm going to only take on X number of clients. And I'm going to fill those spots for my team, for agency, and anything else I'm going to say no to. So I am great at manifesting that shit. So I was like, awesome. So I hope I can swear. um, so I was like, awesome. So I manifested I renewed a lot of clients. This is a big thing for me is renewals. And I had that number and they all started to drop like flies on December 31st in the most insane ways. I'm saying like, I'm so
Wow.
excited. Yay, yay, yay. I can't wait to take this spot. Like we're having such good results. On New Year's Eve, a client messages me, I actually had a bad month and bad December, and I decided I'm gonna just do this by myself. So I'm not moving forward. I'm not signing the contract when we're supposed to start up tomorrow. So she
Wow.
gives me a 1 day notice, and these are big money contracts. It's not like and I have a team,
Mm.
so I hired accordingly. I had another client who's like months late on her payment. I had another client who didn't want to renew, like just crazy stuff that I've never
Wow.
experienced. And so this is when you get to be in business, you get to really sit down and be like, huh, you know what? And my immediate instinct was I should call the other client back that I told you earlier that I had said, no, I'm not renewing with you
Mm.
because it was such energetic leak for me.
Yeah.
That was my immediate gut was I should do that. And then I had to stop and think, wait a minute, no, this is not what gets to happen. The universe is giving me this lesson.
Mhm.
I get to go dive head first into this other area of business that also does well. It
Yes.
did really well last year, but I just was not fully in it. When
Mm.
you run an agency, I'm sure you can totally relate in some way. Like you are giving everything to your clients, you're putting out fires, you're constantly like versus when you're consulting, your clients are depending on who you're attracting in. Because
Yes.
I know agencies can run differently than mine, but like my consulting clients are independent. They are they have their own teams. They take what I learn and what I teach them and they implement it. It's amazing, magical, juicy,
So
everything
much
I love.
better. Mm.
So, but it was within me that I had to shift. Was that's been my biggest thing, is my own perception of my worth, especially being so young. I'm 27, I'll be 28 next month. And I look young, like, right? I mean, I
You
look like
do.
I'm 12. Everybody's like, "You're 16." Like, my little sister is 17. She looks like we look the same age. I'm 10 years older than her, Like, it's ridiculous. So, that to me too, I always get that, like, "You're so young, you're so young." And so, you just really have to pay attention to what is the subconscious beliefs that are running your life,
Mm.
and what is the business that you actually want? How clear are you on that?
Mhm.
And if you lean on your spirituality or your faith and you pull a tarot card or you open up a Bible verse or something, whatever it is to you, and it says shiny object, then probably don't take the deal. You know what I mean? It's probably a shiny object. Like, trust your gut. So that's been like my biggest struggle, is like trying to get off the agency train. And now, like, I had an amazing deal come through, like
Mm.
highest level deal. And I turned it away, like even higher level than the one that I had manifested earlier in the year. I was like, no, I can't do this. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not available. I have my one client because he's a great referral. My team does all of it. It's just so seamless. It's like nothing.
Mm.
And in a good way, like, it's just very
Yeah,
juicy
it just
partnership, very
flows.
simple. Totally, just a
Mm.
dream. And so that's it. Other than that, I'm fully, like, I've gone full in on my programs and my VIP, one-on-one VIP strategy clients.
That's
And
awesome.
so that's been awesome. But it's still, when you're rebuilding,
Mhm.
there's new things to handle. So of course it's not always smooth sailing, but it's a great thing when you can just decide that you are going to do what you want. Because otherwise, like, why don't I just go back to corporate? I don't have to deal with payroll or taxes or anything else. If I
Yeah.
am going to live this life, then I'll just go back to corporate. Why did I left? Because I didn't want to be in that rat race, yet here I was in the rat race. Like, what the heck?
And I've come across, I don't know if you're the same, but I came across so many entrepreneurs that actually went back to corporate because their own businesses was so stressful for them. And it's just because they did the wrong things. And I mean, we've been there. I've definitely been there. You journal, right? I know you journal. We mentioned this yesterday. What has been you really journal?
I have so many journals. Those are just the ones on my desk.
Personally, I love journaling too. I have a great friend and slash business partner here. He lives in Connecticut and he's a mindset coach. And he really got me onto journaling about 2 years ago. So I've journaled before, but not actively, So I've got a couple there at the back. So question to you is, when you have I don't know, a whirlwind of like thoughts in your head and you sit down and you journal, does the journaling help you?
Yeah, I think for me, I resist journaling a lot when I have to sneeze.
Bless
Sorry.
you.
Sorry about that. I resist journaling so much. Like, since I was little, I've loved to journal, and I always feel like I've had a connection to writing.
Mm.
But like, I don't know, this last year, I had such a resistance to journaling. But when I make myself do it, it's so helpful. And I was on, earlier today, I was on Growth Day, which is Brendan Burchard's new business.
Mhm.
And he goes live for 2.5, 2 hours ish every first of the month. And it's February 1st when we're recording this. And he talked all about building confidence. And one of the biggest things he shared about, and he is the expert on high performance, um, he's not like just a high performance coach. He does all the research, like, he just has insane amounts of information and data.
Yeah.
And writing creates so much clarity for us. Things come through that can't even come through for us during meditation.
Mhm.
Like, when we are self-reflective, we are also so much more confident. We're more clear. we have more like capability and follow through. So to me, when I actually sit down and I journal, I have many different ways I journal, and I think you can test out different ways if you're someone who you know that you should, but it doesn't work for you. Like my best friend, I just ordered her that 5 minute journal.
Oh, yes.
Um, because she has a hard time with it. My other best friend ordered it, and it's easier because it's like it's super simple. It's the 5 minute daily journal, and it's just like, what are you grateful for? What do you want to accomplish today? And then at the end of the day, there's like two questions or something. I mean, it's so simple, and it's like a small sheet.
Mm,
Um, it's really important for us, especially as entrepreneurs, to give ourselves that space. For me, another thing I love to use journaling for is full moon, new moon journaling. Even my friends, some of my friends who are more Christian, have been doing my journaling prompts that I've been releasing on the full moon and the new moon, because there's just something energetically about aligning with the universe and taking on. I release questions that are about marketing and owning your voice
okay.
during those times.
Oh,
Um, so those are,
interesting.
those are fun for me because I just want to empower people to own their voice and
Mm,
say the thing. And sometimes when we're not converting on social, um, like I had this one girl on a sales call. She was awesome, great energy, amazing content, doing all the things, checking all the boxes, and her social media was not converting. And I'm just looking at it, I'm like, huh. And then I'm like, hey, so how do you feel about your offer? I'm like, how do you feel about your offer? She's like, I don't know. I'm having some doubts. I have a lot of self-confidence issues. Energetically, she was not enrolled in her own offer, not
yes.
because she's not amazing at what she does, but because she had so much self-confidence about what was possible for her. And she was so stuck in comparison in her head that
Mm-hmm.
none of her stuff was converting. And I've seen that a couple times, even on my agency side of my business, where we've implemented the strategy and it's been like top notch
Yes.
and nothing converts. And it's typically because the entrepreneur is not enrolled in social media. So they're not enrolled in themselves going big. There's something there.
Mm,
So that's why the journaling is so key for
yeah.
entrepreneurs. Even if you're like, I don't want to do this, it's
Mm,
so important for us to be able to reflect and start to have our message come through for ourselves and our truth
mm-hmm.
come through for ourselves in a new way so that we can really own our message online. That's
Yeah.
a huge thing. That's how you're going to develop your message. It's how you're going to get away from the conforming content is by allowing yourself, yes, checking in with the ideal client 100 million%, but
Mm-hmm.
also you checking in with you about your own message, your own mission. What is it that you want to say? What's the thing you really want to say right now?
Mm,
And there's so many ways you can do this, but if you are someone who struggles, there's prompts. That's why I release prompts because I love a good journaling prompt. I can free write forever, but journaling prompts are great. And so buying a 5 minute journal, or 5 minute gratitude journal, buying a journal and just Googling some good gratitude journaling prompts. You could check my Instagram out if you're into full moon, new moon stuff. You can check out. I always release those. So like there's always ways you can find journaling prompts if you are looking for that.
yeah. And it is definitely, it helped me a lot, with not just the creative side of your brain, but getting all the noise. It helps with the noise. That's a big thing. And I always tell my students, please just journal. Even if you're not big into it, just take a piece of paper and just write whatever comes out. Just get it out. It doesn't matter if it makes any sense, because it does make a big difference. And a lot of the time when you just start out, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's like garbage on a page.
It's a new muscle. I think we want to be, there's a lot of ego in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I see this all the time on Clubhouse and like just there's so much ego. Like there's so much like we want to be awesome immediately. We
Mm,
want to be, and this is the same thing with social media. Like a lot of times people are creating and expecting some huge result
mm,
immediately. Like they want to get to 10,000 followers. That's why people use bots. They think they need 10,000 followers to have credibility. Think they need the swipe up to make money. When in reality, that swipe up does not make you as much money as you think. DMs, direct messages are really where it's at. And if you just bought all these followers and use all these inauthentic, hacky ways to get to 10K, you're going to be so plummeted in the algorithm. It's ridiculous. It's the single most annoying thing to me. But this is where the ego comes in. We think we need these comments, likes, followers for validation. We think we need to be amazing at journaling immediately. We think we need to know all the things right away, when really that's not even a thing. Like, nobody expects you to come out of the gate having all these followers. You get the followers by showing up. This is something Brendan talked about today too. He's like, it's so counterintuitive. You get and create confidence through doing all the things he talked about. It's the same. And I was like giggling. So I'm like, it's the same thing with social media. I don't have some huge following, like, and I don't need one. I make good money. I'm getting people on the phone. I'm getting people in my program. That's my vision. I have followers who message me every time I put something up. This landed for me. This really helped me. Thanks for explaining this for me. This is why we create content, not for false engagements. Exactly. And I think, even if the word journaling, like, I don't know, there's so much toxic masculinity, like even the word journaling triggers some people because they feel like, even within women, sometimes we feel like, oh, that's fluffy, duffy, I don't want to do it. Then just say you're writing. You're writing. It's the same thing.
And then you also have the other side, just to like point back to the social media with the views and things, where people have so little views and they're actually more successful. And I've seen this firsthand. They're so much more successful than the people that have 10,000 followers or more. I've seen it so many times, and people sort of like 100 followers or 200 followers, and if you look at their paycheck every month, it's a massive comparison. So it just proves
I
you
have a
don't
lot
need
of friends.
those.
Totally. I have so many friends who are influencers. Like,
Yeah.
that's what they do. They're influencers.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are broke. So they're depending on a brand deal. And you know what I mean? And especially my friends who are influencers, who are micro influencers, who they have the smaller audience, it's very niche. They grew it authentically. It took them years and years to build. They make really good money as an influencer because they get great buys, great clicks, great swipe ups, great DMs. They get great people. Like, they have a true audience. Anything worth having like that takes time.
Oh, yes.
I think about the bamboo, right? Like, you know about the bamboo, right?
No, which one is that?
Oh, great. Awesome. So the bamboo tree, it grows. If I get this wrong, don't come for me in the comments. It's just this is the general gist. I don't know all the science, but basically bamboo takes forever to grow before it shoots up really tall, because as it's growing, like 1 foot 1 year, in year 1 foot in year 2, 1 foot in year 3, it grows like that, very slow, like, and then it gets, and because the roots underneath are growing too to be able to support, the bamboo is very thick, it's very strong. And so it takes a while at first. It's like only growing a foot a year. And as it's building its thing, after it gets to a certain point of years, it shoots up like 7 feet in a year, because the foundation underneath the surface is built. Like, the roots can support it now. Now the roots are there, so it can shoot up. I don't know about you, but I want to be like a bamboo. I want to be strong and hard to break. I don't want to be shooting up super fast like a blade of grass and then having someone just mow over me. Like, I feel like we want to be this overnight success because of Amazon and stuff. We want everything immediate. We're so used to this. And I'm so guilty of it. I'm like, I ordered these new tarot cards like last week, and I'm like looking out the window every second, like checking the updates. Like, we're all guilty of this, but we really got to remind ourselves, like, you got to be patient. Like, anything worth having is going to take time, and you are going to evolve. Like, I have evolved so much in my message and my mission over the last year. And so if I would have shut up last year, I would have fell right over, because I'm changing, So just like, see the gift and the small following while you have it. Of course, do the things we talked about. Do reels, 3 times a week. Make sure you're putting Instagram stories up every day. If Instagram is where you want to grow, like go on TikTok, create like, but don't get so stuck in all these hacks. Like, here's the hack. Like these videos always go viral. Here's your hack for Instagram algorithm. Here's your hack
I
for the
laugh
TikTok
because I
algorithm.
see them all the time and they're so annoying.
By the way, half of them aren't true. I have friends that work at
Oh,
Instagram. I have friends that work at TikTok. A lot of this stuff is just people had a viral video because they had a great piece of content that really landed and they put it out at the right time and enough people took off with it. And then they have all these other things that they think, oh, it's because I didn't post for 24 hours. Oh, it's because I got off the app immediately. It's all these weird things that people think. And then other people take that as Bible and it's like, don't care about it. Just put it out. Engage authentically. Like, look for your ideal client on your social media. Find them. Comment on their stuff. Build relationship with them genuinely. Don't fall into all these hacks. You're not hacking your way to the top. You got to put in the work. You know, who
completely
cares
agree.
about your engagement? If it doesn't convert, who freaking cares? Like, focus on the genuine connections.
Yes. And just figure out who you're serving. And I think that also helps a lot. It's like your message for your audience. Okay, fun question. If you can pick anybody in the world, dead or alive, that you would sit and have dinner with, who would it be?
Okay. I don't want to cry.
Oh,
um, Probably, well, I lost both my grandparents over the last 2 years. So I don't know how to pick one of them. But maybe, I feel like maybe my grandma, I'd like to spend, like my grandpa, I knew he was dying, and my grandma just died really fast this last year. So I would love to, see her one more time.
oh,
Um, the other, like the famous, more fun answer would be Marilyn Monroe. I would
oh,
love to, she's like my muse in so many ways. I love that woman. I've done so much research, read so many of her books, I have all of her movies on my bookshelf. Like, I love that woman. And she was a true feminist trailblazer, and people don't know about who she actually was. They think she was just this sex icon, when
yeah,
really she was a trailblazer and she was mistreated on set. And her makeup artist made more money than her off of the movies that she started because he was a man. Like, crazy, crazy stuff. And I have so many questions for that woman because I've read so many things about her life, and I just love her. And I have so many questions about some of the conspiracies about her. And I just feel like she would be a
yeah.
genuine soul to connect with. She was super ahead of her time. If you look up like some stuff about her, how ahead of her time she was, but she was very misunderstood and very, this, what caused her death really was just how much anxiety she had around so much of her being so progressive and her wanting what was hers, and
Yeah.
people just wanting, like, labeling her as a problem and giving her meds. And so anyway, yeah, my grandma probably would be right now who I'd want to talk to. Maybe my grandpa at some point again. Although I feel like he talks to me all the time. I feel like I feel him a little bit more. Whereas my grandma, it felt so quick, and I feel like if I could have one more like dinner with her, I totally would. And then Marilyn Monroe.
That is so cool. I'm actually going to go and look into her now because I've always seen her as, I guess, an inspiration in a lot of ways for the movie industry for back then. If you look at how many centuries or however long that is. You've intrigued me, Jess. I'm going to go and check her out. I think the behind the
she
scenes, it sounds very
is
cool.
she was really like, and then she was only getting cast as the dumb blonde, but she played a couple movies. Like, if you ever watched the movie Niagara, it was a more serious role that she played.
Mm,
Like, she wanted to play those other roles, but back in the day you had contracts with certain studios for a certain number of years, and they were in control. She was basically not in control of a lot of her
yeah,
life, unfortunately. But she is a fascinating, fascinating soul. And there are so many other celebrities that are similar that have
yeah.
passed. But yeah, she's great. I love me some Marilyn.
I might have to actually go check her out. What is the, okay, second last question. What is the thing that you feel helped you to get to your success? What was that driving factor?
This is a good question. I feel like there's many things,
Mhm,
but probably like just family legacy. Obviously, I care about like being able to donate money to things I care about. I obviously care about my clients, helping people, create the changes.
mhm,
But really, like the number one thing I want out of my life is freedom financially and location freedom.
mhm.
I really want to be able to have kids and travel with them. I want my fiance to be able to not work. Like I want us to be able to have a really awesome. I want to live my
Yes.
life. I don't want to just get to the end of my life and be like, wow, I worked a lot and I had some good experiences, but I didn't do that much. I never really left Chicago. This is a huge
Yeah.
thing in the Midwest of the States. People do not leave Chicago.
Oh,
It's
wow.
they don't even leave their freaking neighborhood from Chicago.
Wow.
Like this is a Midwest thing in general. People live and die in where they grew up. Which, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. But I love to travel. I'm always like, I want to move to New York. I want to move to Denver. I want to go back to San Diego. Like I'm always wanting to go. So I'm like, let's move to London. Like, let's go to Paris. My fiance is like, we have too many pets. We can't do all of this. But I want to travel like extendedly. I want to spend a month, you know, some in Paris. I want to like be able to do that. And
Mm,
that does take finances,
mm.
especially if you're doing it with children.
Oh, yes.
Um, so that's what I would like. I would like to be able to like go and travel and provide like a fun life for myself and
Yes.
my fiance.
That is so cool. And that's exactly what I want to do. I know me and my husband have had this conversation a lot of times because I want to travel Europe for like a year with children. Um,
That would be so
yeah.
dope.
Yeah. And we want to do the train. There's a train route that you can just jump off and on the trains and then sleep wherever and nothing planned, just go with it. And
And how like that's like the best education you can
oh,
give your kids.
definitely,
Seriously.
definitely. They will learn more doing that. And I have quite a few friends that are traveling entrepreneurs with their children, and they do homeschool them. So they teach them the things on on their travels, what they need to know from school, which is in reality only like an hour or two a day. And then everything else is life lessons. I mean, you can go to this building and say, this building has been, I don't know, developed in like the early 1900s or whatever, where you will never get that type of raw education in schools. So it's a really cool way. Yeah.
And meeting people, like
Yes.
meeting people from other places, like the fact that we're like hanging is the coolest thing. And I know I have so much more to learn from you. And I feel like for me, that's a huge, huge thing with my kids too, is even when I went to college and met people from other places in like other neighborhoods in Chicago, I was like, holy crap, their experience is so different from mine. And that sounds silly, but like a lot of times we have so much privilege in our little areas, we don't think about other people,
Yes.
or we don't even think about other cultures. Like I love the French. I know that's like some people don't, but I really love them. When I'm in France, I love being in Paris. I just love the different cultures around. And I'm not even that well traveled. I haven't traveled a bunch yet. And so because I want to have kids and have a business and have a good marriage, like that is not a small request. So I know that financially, that's kind of like one of the reasons why I started my business, is like I wanted to be more in control and be able to more scale where I can serve at a higher level
Mhm.
and make more in a way. And I don't need to be a billionaire. Like I'm not trying to be a billionaire, or I want freedom to be able to
Mm.
travel with my kids and live like a comfortable life. You know what I mean?
I'm exactly on your page there. Exactly. I don't even care to make millions. I just want to be super comfortable. Well, a million would be nice, but
Millions would be cool.
it will be
You know,
cool.
I'm available for that universe. I am available for that.
And the stress-free life, that is really, well, let's be honest, no stress-free thing is going to ever happen if you're an entrepreneur, but at least you can limit
True.
it. But you can limit
Stress.
it.
Yeah, and life is heavy. Like we
Mm.
go through grief, we go through loss. Shit happens. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
some perfect storybook life.
No.
Um, but at the same time, like I do want to be able to have money not be a reason I don't do something I really want to do with my life.
That is so true. So this podcast is for people that sitting on the fence, or not all of them, but there is a big chunk of the audience is for people that's sitting on the fence and they still thinking about starting their business, but they're not exactly sure if this is something that they can do. What advice would you have for somebody that's still sitting on the fence and they're thinking, okay, how do I do this? What is that first thing that they should do if they're stuck?
Well, it's always mindset at first. So for me, I would just ask you, because like, I think a lot of people, not everybody watching this, but a lot of people watching or listening to this are probably thinking, why me? Why am I worthy of this? Like, why should I be the one to do this? And just my question for you would just be, why not you? And that question is going to come up a lot. This is questions I've had to remind myself this, why not me? Why not me? Like, why not you? Really, why not? Let yourself answer that. Get down all your junky feelings in a journal and then look at it and then write why you for real? Like, why should you do it? Because the truth is, like, there is someone out there waiting for you to start your business. They're in pain. Like, there's other people who do what you do, but nobody who's going to do it the way you do it. And they need you to do it so that you can change their life. And also so you can change your family's life. Don't make your why wrong. You know, don't make your why you want to start your business wrong. Like, many people might judge me for what I just shared about my biggest why is I want financial freedom for my family so I could travel. Some people might be like, oh, that's superficial. Guess what? Like, that's enough for me. That why is enough for me. And your why is enough. And so I would say just get really clear on, like, if you are going to start a business, it is a lot more work than working in corporate. It's a lot more stress than working in corporate. So pick something you really like, you know, don't get distracted by the shiny objects of opportunity, you know, aka, you know, these are distractions dressed as opportunity. And just decide, like, get clear on your why, get really connected to your vision for your life and your why for starting, because that's what's going to pull you through these moments is your vision, for what you really want, like what you really, really want in your heart. Like, because if you have that calling in your heart, then there is a reason it is there. Don't look the other way. Go for it. Understand that life is hard and stressful no matter what you pick. So you may as well pick something you're passionate about that has the potential to give you the life you really want, versus stay in the safe space that we've seen this year is never safe. No job is safe. Nothing is safe. So go for it.
I love it. Great advice. Thank you, Jess. That's awesome. Where can people find you? Where can they reach out to you? And most importantly, what can you do to help them?
Yeah, totally. So you can check out my Instagram. It's at Jess Jacobsen, Jacobsen, not On. I also am changing my name at the end of this year to Angelini because I'm getting married. So you'll see that happening. You can also add me on Facebook if you want. You can, you know, jump in. I think I sent you, there's a PDF downloadable that you can download. That's your next 7 days of social media, I think is what I sent you.
I'll double check now, but yes, there's
I
something there,
think
I
so.
must admit.
So those are 7 prompts that you can use.
Yeah.
I put prompts out all the time. I put journaling prompts out, post prompts out, on my pages, and you can jump on my email list. I do really fun special things for my email list only. I have a podcast called Social Strategy Slayer. Every episode is under 20 minutes, unless it's a super in-depth training, which happens maybe once a month. And it's normally a bonus. So under 20 minutes for you to learn social strategies that actually convert, that are authentic and real, instead of you needing to run on a hamster wheel and feel like, I hate social media, I suck at this, what do I need to do? I will empower you in that podcast, and on my social media pages, I will be empowering you to shine your light in a way that feels really good and will actually lead to sales. That's what I do.
That's awesome. And I have listened to a few of Jess's episodes and it's really good and I strongly recommend it. We will pop her links on the bottom of this episode as well, and you guys can follow her. Jess, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming onto the show and sharing your golden bombs or value bombs. There was so much information. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having me. You're the best. I'm so glad we got to do this today.
Finally, after months, for both of us. But yeah,
Perfect timing. I would have been in a totally different place if we would have scheduled this in December. So
well, there you go. There's a reason. Follow the universe, right?
exactly. That's what I'm saying, guys.
Thanks so much, Jace.
No
Yeah,
problem. Thank you. Bye.
bye.